For about 3 decades, President Yoweri Museveni, who comes from the western region, has held Uganda's top job. Ahead of the 2016 presidential race, all indications are that FDC's Dr. Kizza Besigye and former Premier Mbabazi, who also hails from the west, will take on President Museveni. Former Director General of the Internal Security Organization and Chief of Military Intelligence, retired Lieutenant General Henry Tumukunde, says it is only fair that other regions offer themselves for this coveted position, since it's the right of every Ugandan under the Constitution.
Why, for example, do we balance the cabinet? Why do they do regional choices? Why do they care that a vice president, for example, is female? Why is it taken into consideration that the vice president comes from another region, maybe another religion? This is just simply being positively sensitive, because we are in one country. Maybe most people want to see themselves in the mirror of politics, including top leadership.
In his first interview with the media house after retiring from the army, Egade Tumukunde spoke out on the likely candidature of Dr. Museveni-Mbabazi.
It is important that anyone in leadership should remain categorically sensitive about what other people think. So, for example, in my own case, I would not offer myself for, I think never is a large statement, not offer myself, no, because I think maybe other Ugandans should be given a chance from other regions.
Commenting on the perception that Western Uganda has developed more because their son, President Museveni, controls the national purse, General Tumukunde says that can be diffused if power frequently changes hands.
Ugandans have a way they understand things. Ugandans think that when you are in power, things flow your direction. And these sensitivities must be taken into consideration. Other people should be given a chance to try power.
On presidential transition, Tumukunde calls for prudent management of the process to ensure that the country does not take the wrong turn.
Should change come, and I think change will come, it will have to be a properly organized transition. And I would encourage other regions to take interest in offering themselves as leaders of this country.
The former spy chief blames Uganda's poor development indices on the quality of leaders in top decision-making positions. He cites a civically weak electorate for this state of affairs.
For example, people give votes to people because they have a own beef. Others give them votes because babuza. Others give them votes because bazika bulungi. Now, if you kuzika bulungi really, you know how that reduces the cumulative effect of the quality of brains we are likely to have on top of the country. Because Omwombefu is suitable for the church.
In 2005, then a brigadier, Tumukunde fell out with President Museveni for speaking out against the removal of presidential term limits on a radio show, saying the move violated the values they fought for in the Bush War. He was then put under house arrest for about 2 years and charged in the court-martial with abuse of office, spreading harmful propaganda and violating the Army Code of Conduct. He blames it all on poor intelligence at the time.
I don't think I got the problems I got just because I spoke against term limits. It was the view I held. I don't think that was the fundamental problem. The fundamental problem is that sometimes if you don't have very good intelligence, there is always rivalries and many other infightings. And depending on who influences the leader more, it determines the course of things.
In April 2013, after a trial that lasted nearly 8 years, Tumukunde was sentenced to severe reprimand after he was convicted of conduct prejudicial to discipline of the army.
Had a serious discussion with the president, and I am of the view that he understands my mind, and I understand his. So we leave it at that. Sometimes also it is important to outlive situations.
For 14 years, Tumukunde was out of a job, and some of his comrades claimed he had been reduced to living off handouts from well-wishers.
I read Gen Henry saying that I am a very poor man. Well, I can tell you, I've never asked anybody for my legal fees. I have educated my children. I live reasonably well.
After nearly 2 years in oblivion following his trial, reports emerged that Tumukunde had made peace with the president and would head political intelligence ahead of the 2016 elections.
If it's about knowing who I will support, you don't have to spend a lot of energy. You'll get to know very soon.
In the past and more recently, Tumukunde has been linked to violence during the election season. In fact, there are claims that he could be working closely with Maverick Major Kakuza Mutare of Kalangala Action Plan. There are also claims that General Tumukunde worked behind the scenes early this month when police foiled former Prime Minister Mbabazi's consultative meetings in Soroti and Jinja.
I think I have slightly better brains than really organizing violence. What would be my problem? If it is playing politics, I've got capacity to play politics either direction without necessarily being violent.
General Tumukunde has since refined his views on presidential term limits.
Of course, term limits help sometimes. But if you have competitive leadership, well-selected leaders on top, necessarily the dynamics shape themselves and they fall in place. You will always have change of leaders. But if you still send Baombefu, well, what do you expect?
We also picked his mind on the fallout between President Yoweri Museveni and Mbabazi, his former confidant of over 40 years.
He's the best person to discuss those kind of weaknesses, because this is a man who's been in and inside it.
The lawyer also holds a master's degree in oil and gas management from Geneva. So what's next for him?
Given choice, security consultancies, especially combined with oil and gas, are fairly more lucrative. You stand more chance of making money with lesser pressure.
Sheila Nduhukire, NTV.